A lot of people in the industry try and paint a picture that, listen, 60% of our food is, is processed food, has some genetic engineered, product in it, so forget it, it's over. Your resistance is useless. Well, this is nonsense. The vast majority of our foods, the wheat, the rice, our fruits, our vegetables, are not genetically engineered. The vast majority of the food we eat is not genetically engineered. But right now, probably the key issue is the current controversy over genetically engineered wheat.
Even some of the farmers that thought they might like genetically modified canola originally are saying no to genetically modified wheat. We had the Canadian Wheat Board sitting at the table with Greenpeace and the Canadian Health Coalition, the Council of Canadians, and a whole bunch of farm organizations. And they had a news conference to release a letter to the Prime Minister that said, we don't want GM wheat. And that letter was signed by an additional 200 organizations.
Genetically modified wheat is a very, very serious concern for us up in North Dakota, and we have 124 acres of GMO wheat planted in research plots throughout the state. We don't know where those research plots are, although that's proprietary information. So there's already the potential for contamination. If a custom combiner combines some GMO wheat and then goes to combining some non-GMO wheat, the contamination is going to occur. When it does, we'll lose our markets. It's that simple.
What Monsanto told our legislature here in North Dakota was that if they attempted to put a moratorium on the introduction of this wheat, they would pull all of their research dollars out of our state and our universities, which I quite frankly was very happy to hear. And two, they would file a lawsuit against the state of North Dakota for anti-commerce. This was the way that they tried to sell us, the state, a new product.
In the past, were public institutions that supplied the farmers objective analysis of new technologies.
Universities started playing an important role in asking questions about this back then in the 70s, but soon enough it was evident that we did not want to have universities asking questions. So there was a big influx of money from industry to support research at universities, and that led to research that was favorable to the development of the industry and publicity that was simply promotional of the technologies.
The reality is that in our land-grant university system, and certainly in the U.S. Department of Agriculture, there's a small tolerance for people doing research that directly challenges the conventional wisdom.
It's ridiculous. The recent work that we've done on the movement of transgenes in corn in the Centers of Diversification was run on $2,000. Compare that to $25 million coming the other way in exactly my college. And that is the only piece of work that I know is actually happening.
The biotech industry aggressively attacked scientists whose research questioned the safety and impact of genetically modified crops. Renowned scientist Dr. Arpad Pushtai was suspended 2 days after discussing his research that raised questions about the depressed immune systems and growth of rats which had been fed genetically modified potatoes. Cornell University researcher John Losey found that when caterpillars of the monarch butterfly were fed Bt corn pollen in the lab, 40% of them died unexpectedly. His research was denigrated by the biotech industry. Nature magazine retracted Ignacio Chapella's paper after publishing his peer-reviewed work. Biotech enthusiasts challenged the interpretation of his findings.
Biology was a very diverse field of inquiry, but because of the advent of this technology, we are seeing a narrowing down and a trimming off of all those branches of biology just to the benefit of this one side. And I very much want to fight against that. Just as we are losing genetic diversity, we are losing intellectual diversity that we are going to find very, very needed in the future.
The conventional wisdom in the U.S. today is that ag biotechnology is progress. There's not a lot of encouragement for young scientists to carry out research that might raise questions about that basic judgment.
The corporate control of genetic research is not limited to the field of agriculture.
They allowed the patenting of one of the genes responsible for breast cancer. And many researchers who'd been working on a cure for breast cancer were no longer allowed to use that gene in their research because another company had patented it and charged them very, very high fees. Some of the major pharmaceutical companies have gone into university laboratories and sued those laboratories and sued researchers who are using the genes that they own. This is probably the largest private takings of what should be the commons that we all own in common that you could possibly imagine. And I think one of the most disturbing economic trends of our times.
While biotech companies take over on an intellectual level, and genetic engineering takes over on a cellular level, multinational corporations are taking over worldwide by consolidating our food supply.
The combination of Kraft and Nabisco creates a real global leader in the food industry. Scale is a real advantage in this industry. As Kraft has proven, it increases both efficiency and effectiveness.
The average citizen doesn't really understand both the momentum and the extent to which consolidation is taking place in our whole food and agriculture system. Just to give you a couple of examples, 80% of our beef products now are being processed by just 4 companies. In seed companies, the vast majority of the seed that farmers plant now comes from just 4 clusters of companies. And what's even more worrisome now is in the last decade, that same kind of concentration has been taking place in the retail sector. And Heffernan now projects that in the next 10 years, all of the food in the retail level in the world will be controlled by 6 retail firms, only one of which will be American, and that's Walmart. Now that means that increasingly we're not going to have any choice about what's on the shelves in our supermarkets. What's going to be there is what some broker in a consolidated firm decides is going to return the largest profit.